Good evening and welcome to Momentum Chat. I am Majida Bay, your financial conductor, and I am here today. We're going to be having a conversation about what business are you in, right? And I'm not just talking to the business owners. So, you want to hear this conversation? Definitely share, tag a friend. You want to sit back and definitely be a part of the conversation. We're definitely going to have a good time tonight. So, enjoy. We'll be talking to you shortly. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Momentum Chat. I am your host, Majida Bay, and I am here with my mentor, Mr. John Epting, senior financial broker and leadership development coach. I guess I can call you leadership development coach. How are you doing, John, this evening?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm phenomenal.
I'm
Man,
excited to
I am
talk
really
about
absolutely, man. These ideas come to me, and I just let them flow, and I just feel like it's a conversation that people need to have. Last week we kind of got into a conversation. We're starting off the new year, and I wanted to talk about business, right? You wanted to talk about business this month, shift
Yeah.
people's mind, because last month we were talking about turning paychecks into profits. All right.
Yeah.
And so having a business mindset, what's required with that. And I wanted to start off with a quick quote. So the quote comes from Jim Rohn, right? One of my favorite
Yeah. He's your
philosophers, if you
favorite for
will.
sure.
Yeah, he is. And his quote says this. He says, "Now it's noble to go to work to pay the rent, but if you could also parcel out part of your time, go to work to make your fortune. Your whole attitude changes, your spirit changes. It is in your voice, it is in your face, it is in your gestures. And then you can say, I am now working full time on my job and part time on my fortune because I found a way to make profits. Wow, let the adventure begin, right?" And so,
That was
if
good.
you could tell from my face, right, like that's me, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that embodies, the journey that I'm on, and even for yourself. So can you speak to that a little bit? This idea of going to work not just to pay the rent, but
Yeah.
going to work to make a fortune.
Yeah. It's the difference between surviving and thriving, really.
Mm.
When you make a fortune, you're not surviving, you're thriving. But also you should have a bigger picture even by doing that, that maybe you can impact some other people in the process. As an employee, I really I remember being an employee, and nothing wrong with being an employee at all. But I remember it was like I lived for the weekend, and
Mm.
sometimes I still deal with clients who live for the weekend, and hopefully their interaction with me and the things we talk about and me stretching their visions a little bit moves them to a different place, because you shouldn't just live for the weekend. Like I believe in TGIM, right? Thank God it's Monday. I get to get back to work, or whatever the case may be. My life is a little different anyway, because my weekend might be Wednesday and Thursday, or because it's really about the scheduling of our family and what we want to do in that sense. And then this might sound really weird to a lot of people. The people who know me, this is not gonna sound weird, but I'm a total introvert. My wife's an introvert, and our daughters are introverts. It's like, oh my gosh, why did God give all three of us that? But so for us, we actually like to do weekend type stuff during the week.
Mm-hmm.
Less people, not many.
Yeah.
I don't have to stand in many lines. They open up a new milkshake place here, and I notice every weekend since that's open, the line, you would think you're at Busch Gardens or something,
Oh wow.
for a milkshake place of all things. But that's the type of stuff we like to do. We'll go to the movies on a Thursday. We'll go to the movies on a Tuesday, or sometimes I'll do a movie in the middle of the day on a Wednesday, and if that's the type of stuff we want to do. But my point is you shouldn't just live for the weekend. You should. I believe everybody was born with a purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily your vocation will be your calling, right? But it should, whatever you're doing should try to fund your calling.
Mm.
Just a thought of mine. I'm lucky. My part of my calling is my vocation. So I'm super lucky, super blessed in that sense, and I like it. Right. I mean, I have ups and downs just like everybody else, right? It's parts of it that I could do without. Um, but I think that's just part of it. I mean, there's no pastor who is not some part of being a pastor that is like, oh my gosh, I wish I can just get away from that part. Everybody has that, right? Nursing, being a teacher. It's teachers who love being teachers, but I promise you, it's something in being a teacher that's not so cool, and they
Mm-hmm.
can do without. But don't live for the paycheck, right? I'd be scared to send my child to a school that a teacher is just there for the paycheck.
Ugh.
Can you imagine having a surgeon he's just doing the surgery for the
Oh, wow.
paycheck? The nurse who's taking care of your elderly mom or your not so elderly husband who has COVID, and they're only doing it for the paycheck.
Yeah,
It changes everything when you're just doing it for the paycheck.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I want people to think about that because I've been listening to ET a lot, and his message just seems to
Yeah.
resonate with me. But that's one of the things he speaks about is like he doesn't work for money, right? Like this idea that like we got to
Yeah.
chase this paper, right? We got to
Yeah.
get this thing outside of ourselves instead of taking what's inside of us and bringing that out. You know,
Yes.
we becoming the ATM, we creating what it is that we desire or what's in us to bring to forth to the world. And so I like how you said that, right? The idea that if the person that you relied on for a service or something else was only there for a paycheck, how would you respond? And
Yes.
so are you doing the work that you would want somebody to be paid for well, right? If you're doing work that you're not passionate about or that you aren't fulfilled in doing, you're really doing a disservice to the people that you work with, along with the people that you are serving. And so, understanding what business are you in. So, I know we talk a lot about finance on here,
Yeah.
and so people think that y'all are only focused on money. All you care about is money. But can you share with our audience what business are we really in, John? Like, what is the business that we're in?
Okay. Mainly, we're in the people business. Mainly, but it plays so many different parts depending on the client sitting in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
I've done marital counseling in my office, going over somebody's financial stuff. So I always say we're in the people business. I'm in the leadership development business. I'm in the distribution business.
Mm-hmm.
I create outlets to bring the underserved services and products they would never hear about. So I'm in the distribution business as well. Um, but I believe I'm in the character development business too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know that sounds crazy. I pride our firm on, I don't know why. I think the good Lord has his hand on our business, but we attract really good people. And the people who aren't very good people, we end up weeding them out. Either they convert or they're not here anymore. And
Yeah.
it's almost by default. It's not like we had to do anything for it. It's just the way we walk around, the way we talk, the way we move, the way we do things, the way we open accounts, the way we. It's just almost like if you're here and you're not doing it this way, you look really weird, and somebody's gonna say something to you, right?
Yeah,
And
you're going to
we
stick
train you
out.
that way, as you know. Of course, most of them don't want me to say something to them. But over time, they end up just converting and moving and doing it. And, it's kind of cool. It's really cool thing in the sense that's character development.
Mm.
People who used to not be very good at being on time, me, right? You got to be on time now, right? Character development. Uh, People who didn't really like people, total introvert, don't really want to talk to nobody, right? Now, because of my love for what I do, also my faith in Christ, but for I just feel it's it's irresponsible. It's
Selfish.
disgusting. It's selfish if I don't
Yeah.
share. I'm an introvert, but it's selfish that I don't share my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It's right. That's character development. That was developed through me doing what I'm doing. One because I love it, but the other one is like, how do you know what the cure to cancer is? You know the cure to some disease, in this sense, financial diseases, and you not share it with someone.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you sleep? Right. I remember I heard a pastor say, some people are living their life in reference to us four and no more.
Mm.
And that just, ugh. Yeah. And that's from an introvert. An introvert, me, is like, that's so wrong.
Yeah.
And so that's what, I don't work just for a paycheck. And being an entrepreneur, let me just say this. Being an entrepreneur, in the beginning, there is no paycheck. It's a lot of learning and hitting your head against the
Yeah.
wall and bloody noses and so
Step
we were doing
back.
it for the paycheck, man. Yeah, up front it's not that great, but it can be great. It can be, right? But there's a learning curve and things like that. It's on the back end oh my gosh, it's incredible, especially when it's residual.
Mm-hmm.
When you didn't do much last week, and you still get a you know really big direct deposit in your account, is pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I know you know how that feels now. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm check, right after Christmas. Then, it's
Right.
not too
Right.
bad.
Other people trying to figure out how they're gonna do this, that, and other. Right. And here it is right after Christmas, and
Yeah, work I did a month ago, 2 months ago, the
yeah.
money's coming in.
Which is another
So,
cool thing about being in the financial business. If you're with the right platform, right firm, I'm still getting paid for stuff I did 15 years ago,
mhm.
16 years ago, which is really cool. And then when you're in leadership development, you help other people make and do well for themselves. Automatically, you do well for yourself. You have a vested interest in the successes of your people. A little
Correct.
bit different from corporate America or even my military time. So,
And I asked that question, what business are you in? Because we
mhm.
spoke that we're in the people business. You have to, or there's this quote that says, if you want to go fast, go alone.
Yep,
But if you want to go far, go together. I think that's
yep,
how the quote
go
goes.
together.
And so this idea that you have to invest in people, not just in our
Yeah,
clients, but also people that we work with, in helping them develop their character, be better, right? And something that you say all the time that I love, you say that most people have never been given an opportunity worthy of their best,
yep,
right? So to be engaged in something that requires you to grow in order to be successful at it, like that's what I enjoy, right? I enjoy
yep,
pursuing stuff to learn or to become someone who I have to learn some stuff, I have to get better, I
hmm,
have to grow in order to accomplish that thing.
yeah,
And if you spend your entire life in that mindset, right? Like, how am I growing? How am I getting better?
yeah,
How am I serving? There's never really a dull moment, right? Like, kind of back to the
no,
quote from Jim Rohn. It's like your whole energy changes, right? Like, everything's like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to learn today? Like, you wake up and you're like, I get to learn, or I
yep.
get to grow, and kind of have that excitement on a daily basis. It's pretty cool, in my eyes, anyway. So,
The financial business is cool that way because you have to grow. Well, let me take that back. Your growth is still optional. In a firm like ours, because we do so many different things, we're a non-captive company, and we work with so many different companies and so many different types of clients. You have to grow if you're going to be good.
mhm,
If you're going to keep your clientele, like I always tell our people, the only business that pays is the business that stays.
yeah,
And you got to be on your game. I mean, these people are going through, and I always tell my people, don't learn the tricks of the trade, learn the trade. because our people need help. They don't need a gimmick. They don't need a fly by night type deal. You need to know what you're doing, and you need to know how to have that grow with them, whatever you're doing for them, right, over time. But it's really cool how you talked about that, in 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 growing people. I heard this thing a long time ago. There was a CEO talking to a CFO, and the guy's like, "Oh my gosh, we got to train our people." He said, "Man, what if we train our people and they leave us?" He said, what if we don't and they stay?"
Mm.
See, growing yourself is you and I know this, that every goal that you have, right? It's really not about the goal. It's about who you have to become to reach that goal.
Right.
And I heard Mike Murdoch say this years ago. He said, money is merely a reward for solving a problem.
Mm.
Right? I heard another guy, not Monty Holmes. He said, money's merely a byproduct of who you become. Right? And if you don't have much money, it means you haven't become much.
Mm. Whew, that say it again for the people in the back. That might might hurt a little bit, right?
Yeah, money's merely a byproduct of who you become. And if you don't have much money, that means you haven't become much.
Mm.
And we should be, I you've heard me speak publicly. So I had to do that this weekend, and one of the things I end almost every one of my talks with, different from my email signature, I always end with, I believe, and this is my true belief, I believe who I am is God's gift to me, but who I become is my gift back to God. And I have to ask myself, what type of gift would I like to give him? What type of gift does he deserve? Right? And I'm far from the gift I believe he deserves, especially for all that he's done for us. But that resonates in my heart a lot. And being able to be a public speaker and speak in on so many different topics and gamuts, but then end with that, it reminds me. So it's not just for that audience; it's more for me. So,
all right.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So let me share this. So in align with the business that you're in, right? So it doesn't just apply to, like I said, business owners. If you're a homemaker, right? I call them domestic engineers. If you're a teacher, if you work a job, right? You still need to understand the business that you're in. And I want to ask this question: how are you investing your most valuable resource of time? All right. So I'm asking you, John, right? Because I want you to answer. But to our audience, for those that are listening, you can comment in the chat. But John, why is it important to invest? All right. I use that word specifically.
Yeah.
We can spend our time, we can waste our time, we can do a lot of things with time. But when you invest your time in doing work, how does that pay in terms of your return, right? How does that benefit not just you, but the people that you're able to serve?
Yeah. For me, I've realized, and today was confirmation upon confirmation upon confirmation for me today. I was with someone, I'll tell them, I was with my therapist today. And we have a kind of a weird relationship because it's almost like we're becoming friends, even though he's my therapist, right? And in talking to him, I just realized if you tore everything else away, from money to being able to talk about finances, to talk about business, to leadership development, character, all that stuff, I found that the thing that drives me is just helping people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm high. I'm high after getting on stage to instill some information and some knowledge and some encouragement, right? I'm high after that, right? I get done. Now, mind you, we did this on Zoom this past weekend. So I finished my talk, right? Say my little statement, blah, 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 right? done. I log off. I don't log off, but you know, I mute myself and blah blah blah, and they give some accolades, blah blah blah. I'm supposed to be heading back out to the ski slopes, and I can't because I was away, and you know, so we did this, and we were up in a place where it was skiing. So I'm supposed to be getting out of this suit back into some clothes so I can go in the cold. And I notice I'm wandering around. I can't calm down. I just love helping people. Yesterday it was something with a young man, and it was more spiritual based, and then today was a different thing. And it's just like it's a high for me. It's like, and I'm starting to realize it's the only thing that really keeps me going. It's not really the money. I thought it was getting to be able to buy that 45-foot motor coach, right? Because I want to pay cash for the thing, right? So it's $2 million for the stupid bus, right? And my wife and I travel around on that thing, right? Or me buying a 1971 muscle car this year because I'll be 50 this year. Or I thought it was that stuff, right? I thought it was making sure my mom is great, although that still needs to happen, right? But I thought it was that. I thought it was. I really did. But talking to my guy today, it was just, and I known that, but I don't know if I knew it like I know it today. It was just, that's what drives me. That's what gets me up. That's what. Yeah. So mine was the investment of me, and mind you, I notice I do my best work when I'm down. Totally weird, right? Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, but it's biblical. The scriptures actually say is when you going through, go help somebody else. And I realized this a couple weeks ago though. I was down. I was not feeling, I don't know why people always think we just feel fired up all the time, man. Come on, man. We get the most criticism when you're in public. You get the most criticism, right? So I was, I got a call. Saw the name come across my phone. Not even gonna lie to you. I said, not right now. But I said, I gotta get this. Listen to it, right? And to pour life back into somebody else, it was like I gave myself CPR. It's like I gave myself mouth to mouth. Clear. I need that. Right? And he left high too. And matter of fact, since then, things have just kind of lined up for him. It was, oh my gosh, it was freaking awesome. Right? I thought it was my wife being able to do whatever the heck she wanted to do is what kept me going and kept me driving. And my daughter being able to, when she graduates, to take her year and backpack through Europe or whatever, the stuff she wants to do in her gap year, she calls it. I thought it was that stuff. Nope, just helping people in whatever way, capacity I can, whatever that is. It's not even about money. Those two ones, no. 2 of them wasn't even about money. It wasn't about money at all. It was relational stuff. Yeah. Right? That's an investment. Now, the investment was the reading I've done. Had I not done the reading, the coaching I get from myself and all that type of stuff, I wouldn't have been able to help those people. I wouldn't have been. Matter of fact, if I wasn't reading a particular book right then, I just finished it, but right then, I wouldn't have been able to help that guy when he called me 2 weeks ago. I've since finished that book, but that book, chapter 2, I was in like chapter 8, but chapter 2 is what he needed to hear. What if I hadn't put that book up? The last time I read that book was like 9 years ago, 10 years ago. What if I hadn't picked it up again? Yeah. Those are the type of investments.
Now, I definitely agree with that because there's this another quote, and I think it's from, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm not even gonna try to get, but it says that you earn in direct proportion to the service you provide, right? And so
Very.
back to what you said earlier, right? If you haven't earned much, you haven't become much, which means you just haven't served. There's this quote that I have in my email. I think it's from Gandhi, and he says that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
Others. You know, the
Right?
Bible actually says that the greatest among us will be servants.
Mm,
The greatest will be the servants. It's beautiful,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And I always tell people Jesus was just the chief servant. That's it. So it's crazy, man. That was good. Can I go back to something though?
Yeah, sure.
You talked about how you got to know what business you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I've done some public speaking, and and so I remember a talk I was doing for Sam's Club one time, and I talked to them. I talked to the employees in reference to their brand,
Mm.
not about Sam's Club's brand, their individual brands.
Okay.
I want you to think about this: when you go to a restaurant or when you go to a grocery store, and the person who is ringing you up, you haven't they create a brand right there based on their interaction with you.
Mm-hmm.
True or false?
True. True.
Right? Same thing at a restaurant, right? I hear some people, I'm not gonna name some people, but I have some people who've told me a lot that every time they go to a restaurant, it's always something wrong. Always. And I say, you ever notice the one common denominator in that is you? It's not that everybody's forgetting your ranch or
Mm-hmm.
or they forget to fill up your cup. No, maybe it's you. Matter of fact, I want to bring up a point. So a couple weeks ago, we were in Williamsburg, Virginia. Actually, this was the day after Christmas. I think it was the day after Christmas, a couple days after Christmas. So we go to this restaurant. We got my wife's family with us, and I want to brag on this. Unfortunately, I cannot remember her name, but our waitress was amazing.
Mm.
Now, of course, we carry ourselves a certain way, so we normally get good treatment everywhere we go. I learned the waitresses' names, and we call them by name. We thank them every time they bring something to the table. It's just what we do. But beyond that, this girl was good at what she was not there as a waitress, right? Knowing what business you're in. She knew she was in customer service.
Right.
And she did just the way she could make recommendations, but then she just remembered stuff. And then, you know how some people like to give you these complicated, I want my eggs, right? She was boom, 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 boom. So I remember one time I looked up at her and I said, "You're good." And she says, "Yes, I know." I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Right? She was confident in what she was doing. Then when she brought stuff out, boom, she knew what you know how you go, "Oh, can I have ketchup?" We didn't have to tell her nothing. Right? So those type of people, you don't just tip.
Yeah.
Right? My wife and I, we started 20. We started 20%. You getting 20% anyway. We had to show out with her. You understand? And it was right after Christmas, so it was a perfect time to bless somebody. But
Absolutely.
man, she was so freaking. I so sorry. I don't know her name. It just leaves me. I knew her name. It just leaves me right now. But great restaurant, and matter of fact, I don't even know if the restaurant was really good. The food was actually freaking amazing. Yeah, the cornbread was kind of dumb, but yeah, it was good. But the food wasn't the highlight. It was her. Her attitude, right? And she wasn't like a smiley, bubbly person. Not that at all. But she was about her business. She knew what business she was in, right? And you could tell she had invested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's, whatever job you do, business you're in, right? It's the experience, right? We hear a lot of times in, marketing and things like that, people got to like, know, and trust you. And so at your job, I have a brand at my job, right? Like my boss calls me the MacGyver PM, right? Like
I would believe that.
I said, hey, when you grow up with certain challenges, if you will, right? I don't know call it,
Yes.
but you grew up in a certain environment. You learn how to make things work with less, right? I ain't gotta have the best resources. I ain't gotta have the best
You just
personnel,
make it
but I'm
work.
gonna make it work, right? So he calls me the MacGyver project manager. And even in the business that we're in, you spoke earlier that you get a high off of helping people. And I think for me, it's a little further, right? I get a high off of helping people move forward, right? Like you
Yes.
gotta, right? Like the idea that I have some information that's benefited me and I get to share that with somebody else and show them how they can apply it so that they're moving forward, right? Like that's what gets me going. Right? That'll get me up in the morning. That'll
Okay.
keep me up late at night, knowing
I'll
that I'm
agree with
helping
that.
somebody to move forward, right? Like you're making measurable progress in reasonable
Yes.
time. Another Ronism.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Measurable progress. Measurable.
Absolutely.
That's
And
awesome.
so, like those are the things that I think about, like the metrics, if you will, when I'm serving my clients, right? When I'm serving the people, I'm like, how can I move the needle in their life? How can I move the needle for their family to where it makes a difference?
I think I love the moving the needle. Love that. Matter of fact, that's a high in and of itself. But believe it or not, I think I even get a high just from them believing there's hope.
Mm,
When some unfortunately some people come into our offices and they've lost hope to a degree.
yeah.
Um, not hope in the area in they're in, right? I believe they've shrunk their dreams to match their income or the size of their opportunity.
Mm,
And after talking to me, their hope is past that. That's that's something that just, oh man, because before you can even move forward, you gotta believe,
yeah.
right? And if you've lost your hope, man, it's so much. It's not a whole lot we can do, you know. So sometimes I gotta prime that pump a little bit first.
No, that's cute. That's huge. I'm
Yeah,
gonna put that up there, right? Increase your income to match your dream. Don't shrink your dream to fit your income.
yeah.
And that's important, right? Like I agree with you. Like a lot of people lose hope, right? We've heard, by the time people are 18, most of them die. Like mentally, they're dead,
Mm-hmm.
right? They just don't. We don't get around to put them in the ground until
It's like
later.
18 to 25, somewhere around in there, between 18 to 25, and what they mean is they're dream dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten their nose bloody a little bit. Normally by 30, they're dream dead. You know, this is about what it's going to be, and this is how it is, and right, and they're just punching the clock, living for the weekend, right? The hump day, right? All those types of things, and I just don't think any of us were put here on the planet for that. I
Yeah.
really don't. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
my
we're
heart,
bigger,
like,
bigger purpose. So
no, for sure. Because like my heart kind of goes out to people like, if you're living your life and you've settled or you've accepted that like this is all life has to offer me. I know for myself, I got to a point where like there's got to be more, right? And it's in you, right? Les Brown says all the time, greatness is in you, right? Greatness is
mm-hmm.
within you. And so it's just, we've talked about this before, getting in an environment, getting around people who can help bring that out of you, right? Like
Oh
you
yeah,
hear it, you're like, if something doesn't feel right, you're frustrated, you're worried, right? Like we weren't created to like live in that space all the time, right? It's okay if I get frustrated about something temporarily, but like if day in and day out, week in and week out, you're constantly frustrated, you're constantly stressed and worried
mm,
about what your future looks like because you've, thrown your hands up,
yeah,
given somebody else control, right, of your life. That's not, I mean, like that's not living, right? You're
no,
surviving, you're getting by,
mm-hmm.
and there's more to life than that, right? So this isn't about you doing what it is that we do, but it's about you living out your purpose, living life out loud, if you will.
Yeah.
Settling for less than what you want, right?
I always say living with purpose on purpose. Living with purpose on purpose. I mean, you got to step out, right? And unfortunately, it is people who've kind of thrown their hands up and that's it. I can't do it. And There's a scripture in which, well, several, good Lord, there's a bunch of these, right? Where there was a guy named Paul in the Bible, right? We call him the father of the church. And he had a young protege, Timothy. And they were far from each other. Matter of fact, Paul was in prison, but he used to always write Timothy these letters to the church. And he would always tell Timothy, stir up the gift inside of you. He didn't say somebody else stir it up. He said, you, Timothy, stir up the gift inside of you. See, what that tells me is whatever we need for our calling, it's already in us.
Mm-hmm.
We have to bring it alive. And but you're right, the right environments, being around the right people, reading the right things, right? Because what you put in is what you get out.
Yeah.
Right. So those investments, yeah, you got to know what business you're in, no matter what you're doing. If you're a teacher, what business are you in? Right. I don't want to answer it for you, but I want you to think about it if you're listening to us today. If you're a teacher, what business are you in? Right. And it's more than one description.
Yeah.
If you're a truck driver, what business are you in?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a construction worker, what business are you in?
Yep.
Right. Are you building buildings? Or are you building America? Like, what are you doing? If you're a counselor, what business are you in? Right? To me, a counselor is a Pied Piper of hope. Right? You get to bring people back to life. Right? They thought this thing that they went through was so horrible, or whatever's going on, the chemical imbalance in their life, and you can bring them back. Pied Piper of hope. I mean, I just made that up. I don't know. I don't even know if that fits, but it sounded good when I said it.
Sounded good.
What are you, right? Matter of fact, a mom. I know. We like to say at-home spouse with children. They're a domestic engineer. Okay, that's cute. I believe they even have a greater business. Yeah, they create the next generation. They determine how the next generation. What this world's going to look like 40 years from now is being determined right now by domestic engineers. Think about that.
Yeah.
You got to know what business you're in, right? So that's why I was challenging the people at Sam's Club when I spoke for them, right? I was challenging them, right? What brand are you creating here, right? And be careful. Hopefully, this is totally off topic. Actually, it's probably on topic a little bit, right? The way you're raising your children, right? We all have to be very mindful in the way we're raising our children, because you're not going to like how I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say it this way. Your children are a product. Are you creating a product that you would buy? See, some people are creating products they wouldn't buy themselves in the way they're raising their children. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to use any names, but I know people like this, right? I know someone who their 27, 25-year-old son go back 28 years, they wouldn't have bought him. In other words, they wouldn't have dated him. They wouldn't have married him. You created that product. Right? I know that sounds really bad, but that's the facts. I'm trying to make Jessie, I'm trying to groom Jessie, grow her up to be a product that, if I was her age back then, boom, 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 and this is the girl that showed up, this is the girl I would want to marry. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I noticed, and I get it, because I grew up in the hood, and I remember food stamps and government cheese and all that type of stuff, and I get it. So now that you're doing better, and that's not your situation, we kind of pamper our children. We don't even want our children to know when tough times are happening in the household, right? Well, that doesn't create greatness in them. That actually they don't live in the real world. So then when they get out and they end up in those situations, they don't know how to handle it because mom and dad didn't coach them through it.
I have a problem. I'm gonna.
Okay.
What is intervention.
Is this confession time?
Right. So I when I invest, because I don't see it as spending, right? When I see things that could benefit or me or people that I care about, or right, I invest in it, right? Like I don't count the cost. We say that all the time. When the value's right, the cost doesn't matter. So I
Right.
found these cards. It's cents to cents. I don't know if I can you
Yeah, I
can see
see it.
that.
I see it. Financial literacy. Very
Yes.
cool. Okay.
So it's like a deck of cards. I bought two. So I gave one to my mother so she could use it at the homeschool. And then I kept one here at home. And yeah, it's just stuff that you can share, teach your children. A sum of money paid by a company to its shareholders, a dividend, right? You know,
Dividend.
an action of helping someone, services, right? Like it's like all good stuff that they can learn and benefit. So I don't remember how much it costs. It didn't matter. So
Yeah.
yes, my
I,
investment in
I would want
myself
one of
budget.
those. I would want one of those just to have around. Give it to my godson and his mom and
Yeah.
dad, so to teach them. But see, that's you're creating a product we will want to buy by teaching that type of stuff. What I mean in reference to the other on the other spectrum is, um, we, I'm guilty. Okay, we spoil our children a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
My wife jokes me all the time because our daughter now is 15. She'll be 16 here in a second. But if it's like a running joke in our house that if Jessie goes out with me, right? She's out with me, right? She could pick up whatever she wants, right? We'd be in the grocery store. She got her own little stuff she wants, herba mates and all that different stuff, right? And we get up to the register. In her mind, she thinks she's paying for it because she's got money. But then she gets to and I say, no, just put it on mine, and I buy it. She knows if you're with daddy, it's daddy got it, right? Mom, different story. Mom will separate that stuff. She'll put the little divider on the right. So I'm guilty of spoiling her, but she's not spoiled rotten. She understands the value of $1. She's had a job since she was 14, and she started her first business when she was 8. So she understands profit and loss. She understands those types of things. So I'm still bad at like spoiling her. It's hard to say no. She's so gorgeous and she's a great student, and she she still do some stuff daddy don't like, right? But it's not that big of a deal. Right. What I'm
Yeah.
talking about is let's make sure our children, they can be spoiled. Let's make sure they're not rotten.
Yeah.
Let's make sure they're worth something and they can stand on their own. Our real jobs as parents is not to give them everything. It's actually to make sure they're self-sufficient, strong adults when they leave us.
Yep.
Or strong
For
young
sure.
adults. Maybe I'll say it that way. That's our real goal. It's not to make sure they're taken care of, pay for their college, blah, blah, blah. No. Can they survive without you?
Yep. I preach that to my daughter all the time. Like, look, I may not always be here. You're gonna need to be able to take care of you.
And you need to know that. They need to know that, right? It's not fair for us not to tell them that, not to share that bit of information. They have to know. Unfortunately, Jessie knows early. She found out very early in her life that people can die, people can leave. She lost a baby sister.
Yeah.
So here she was, 6 years old, and her baby sister passed away at 5. Well, she had just turned 7, and her baby sister passes away at 5. Right. So she gets that part, right, and probably is what creates some of the anxiety in her whenever any of us leave the house. Right. Just us making sure that we say goodbye and kiss her and blah blah blah. But she knows. Right. But now my job is to make sure she's self-sufficient. She can handle herself after we're gone, and things are going to be taken care of. She's,
Yeah.
And also the value of what we're talking about, and not just doing something for a paycheck. Right? I've always had the goal that when people ask my daughter, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" I want her answer to be happy, fulfilled, significant, not
Yeah.
doctor, lawyer, attorney. I don't. Nobody cares. I know a bunch of. I know. Unfortunately, I know some attorneys who aren't fulfilled, who aren't happy. I know some doctors who ain't happy. Sorry. I know some married people who ain't happy.
Yeah, I was actually on the summit on Friday, and every once in a while my emotional side comes out, right? And I don't even remember the
Wow.
question that you asked me, and I just broke all the way down. Like it was, she might have just asked me like, why? How did I get into this space? Like, why do I do what it is that I do? And I thought about my two girls, and I might have shared this before. I'm not sure, but there was a meme with Kunta Kinte with chains around his wrist, right? And right next to him was a meme with credit cards around somebody's wrist. Debt, MasterCard, Discover, American Express. And I don't know why when I saw that image, like all I could think about was my girls being in debt, right? Being trapped by debt, um, enslaved to debt. And so like that's what moves me to become who I need to become so that that's not their reality in the future, right? Like they don't have to fall victim to that trap. Because I can assess that, yes, the system is set up for you to be in debt. The system is set up for you to, fail financially, but you don't have to fall into that trap. You can educate yourself. You can become informed. In terms of what we're talking about today, if you're doing work that's meaningful, that's purposeful, that that you're called to do, right? You'll never have to fall into that trap to where I need a paycheck to keep a roof over my head, or I need a paycheck to keep food on the table, because you're doing what you're called to do, and you're going to attract the money, right? When you're serving other people, you're going to attract, right, the things, the resources, right? When you have an abundance mindset, like those things are going to be drawn to you. And so that's what keeps me, right? Like becoming an entrepreneur is just like, I need my daughters to be able to see options, right? Yes, I'm an employee, but I'm also an entrepreneur. And this is what it looked like. Yes, I'm working all the time, but this is the benefit in me working, right? So that you see what's required for you to be free, right? Like it's not going to come, if you can do the employee thing, but this is what it looks like, right? It's debt, right? All of this stuff. When you're not following your passion, when you're not following your calling, and so, being an example, being a model for them, I like what you said about creating that product, right? I want them to be independent, interdependent, right? You can come to me for interdependent, but I want them to be able to think for themselves. I want them to have their own voice, and not feel like they have to accept what somebody else tells them or accept. Yes. What? This is what happens when a 2-year-old is left to her own devices in the house. I have no idea what. Okay, go watch them. That's because I'm here. No, her hands are wet. I don't know what's on them. She's running around in the house. I have no idea what's happening. So we'll figure it out when I get off.
She's growing up so fast.
You could be doing a number of things. So I want to share a quick quote. And comes from literature that I grew up reading. It says, when hope and love are backs of toil, yes, then all of life is filled with joy and peace, and this is heaven. Do you not know that such a heaven is for you? And so for those that are listening, I really want to, give you hope, right? That you can have heaven on earth, if you will. You can live a life that is not a burden, right? You can live a life that's fulfilling. Yeah. You have to seek it out. You definitely have to seek it out. And another quote that you always share, where is it? Did I lose it? Oh, I must have lost it. I'm gonna post it back up here. But when you say never be weary in well doing.
Yeah.
Right. I love when you share that. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time that we will reap a harvest if we do not give up.
Yeah.
And so, for
You,
those that have been listening tonight,
that's a banner for me. That's a
yeah.
banner for me because I have to remind myself, it's especially it's when the tough times come, right? Somebody
Mhm.
speaking ill of you, or right. It's funny how people will judge you without knowing you,
Mm.
right? And some people think because they've known you for a number of years that they know you, and they don't even know you. And sometimes and unfortunately, because just how we're designed as humans, a lot of times
Mhm.
we'll focus on the negative stuff that's said instead of the positive stuff. And I have to remind myself there's a lot more people saying great things in reference to what I've done for them and how I've impacted their life than the few negative things that other people say. So that has been a banner for me. Let us not become weary in well doing or in doing good things. For at the appropriate time, at the right time, for in due season, there's so many different translations of that. You will
Yeah,
reap a harvest if you don't give up, if you faint not.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely appreciate you as always, John, for joining us this
Thank you.
evening, sharing your
Thank you.
insight.
It's
And
it's
for
always
those
a
that,
great talk with you. It's always a great. I jump on here and I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but it's always a great talk. It's always good to be able to share things from my heart and from years of reading and pouring in and getting my nose bloody. So I appreciate I appreciate that.
well, I know last week we did speak about having a program, and we are going to have a program later this month for you guys. So we will let you
Yes.
know as soon as we have that. John was having some challenges physically right this past week,
Some
so
health some health
we're glad
issues,
that
but I'm
yeah,
okay.
we're glad that he's better. Absolutely. And of course, for those that have been following us, you've been tuning in weekly. We've been doing this now since September, I believe. Right.
Yeah.
So the last 5 months now, going on 5 months. Um, we definitely want to help you move forward, as I mentioned earlier. So you can actually take our survey at momentum-mentors.com. That survey will just help us assess where you are right now financially
Mm-hmm.
and give us some insight into where you want to be. And then you can actually schedule a time to get together with us and we can help you take the next step, move forward. Um, and we get a high off of doing that, right? So if you want to just do it to give us that high, hey, we're open to that as well. But we definitely want to help you, right? This is really about us serving you, and we want to be able to add value to your life, help your family move in a better direction, move the needle, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And we can definitely help you do that if you take that survey, and then we can help you take the next step. So we thank you, mommy. Hands. Okay. See you later.
She is something.
She understands cues very well, right?
Yes, it does.
So bad. Don't mess with that light. So we definitely want to help you move forward. We hope you'll tune in next week as we continue to talk about business, right? It's not just about, being a business owner or being an entrepreneur, but really the mindset about owning and controlling your life, taking ownership of your life, taking responsibility for your future. And we're using
Yeah.
business as a metaphor for that, but we definitely want to help you move in a better direction, live a fulfilled life, and
Yes.
we hope that you're willing to work with us in order to do that. So, any last words, John? Of course, this one has to.
No, not this week. I just appreciate the time that we get to spend together and appreciate all the people who listen in. So we thank you for allowing us to speak to you.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you guys next week. We thank you and have a great week.
Have a great week.